Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to our second session. I have with me Mrs. Fatima Wada, and she's currently studying her master's in education and biology. She's knee deep in learning the best ways to teach people so that they can learn adequately and be of benefit to the society. So, Ms. Fatima, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for this opportunity.
So, as you know, our topic today is on education, discipline, and upbringing, and I feel like you have a lot to share about it. As a master's student, in education, what inspired you to pursue this career?
Let me take you back to around about a decade ago, while I was preparing to finish my secondary school education. At that time, I actually was only day and night dreaming of becoming a professionally trained medical doctor. But destiny played its role, and I just found myself studying under the prestigious Faculty of Education. So, many people are kind of inspired, with having great passion for teaching, and that is in the past. Because nowadays, when you ask a child, what do you want to become in the future? I think in a class of lower primary school children, maybe you can get 10 out of 30 or 40 students that will tell you that I want to become a teacher. But when you go higher, as the students see their miserable life of teachers, I think only one, or even if you have getting a student that will tell you that I want to become a teacher in the future. But personally, my own journey to the teaching profession, I think is a combination of multiple factors. First, my inspiring educators, and then suddenly a built up passion. It wasn't there at first. So I just tried to build up it, and it was dignified. It was very upsurge passion for teaching now. And then my educators, my teachers have all left very good impressions on me. So as I move forward in this career, I wish to, kind of build a system of learning, a learning environment where students have these lifelong relationships with their teachers, building fosters good and conducive learning environments, advocating for changes that we need to have in the education system, especially in the North here. And then above all, I also want to leave a lasting impression on my students as my teachers have all left on me.
MashaAllah, may Allah bless it for you. I believe honestly that educators are one of the best people to leave impressions, because you meet people when they are young or even in various ages, and the things you can teach them about themselves and the course it's something that they'll remember.
Exactly.
Right. So what are some of the specific challenges we face in education in the North that you've noticed?
Actually, when you flip through the scripts of documented literatures, you will just find a vast variety of challenges facing education, especially here in the northern Nigeria, in the northern part of the country. You will see challenges such as insecurity now that we are facing. These insurgencies, directly affect schools and the ability of teachers and students to safely attend these schools.
Classes, yeah.
Exactly. And then we have this persisting challenge of poor funding from the part of the government, poor management, shortage of qualified and competent teachers, and the rest. But I think now in this contemporary society, the major challenge we're facing now is the fact that the youth, especially here in the North, has been diverted to social media content creating. They have seen how the lives of this content, they are making it, now education has become a second option. Not even a second option. It has become the least option without being the priority that it's supposed to be. So this is a very serious challenge we're facing here, especially in this northern part of the country. When you compare to the southern part of the country, it's different. When you go there, you see how they are making it in education. Their education sector is very, very boosted. Not that this northern part of the country, we are not making it, but we are lagging behind. There are a series of challenges. If you take, for example, the shortage of qualified and competent teachers, now the teachers' lives have been a misery. If you could check from past histories, right from the time the missionaries, when they brought education to Nigeria. At first, the southern part of the country, the southern protectorate as at that time, they what? They embraced fully this Western education. But here in the north, due to the fact that we have our own system of education, that is the Islamic education, so that contributed as a social cultural factor. It is kind of a barrier. It lacks, gives a distance. It creates that educational gap that exists now in this northern part of the country. So if you can check also a series of literatures, papers that scholars have written on what we are facing here, especially in northern Nigeria. We are facing the problem of lack of funding from the government, lack of full commitment of teachers. And this is due to the fact, this is because of that lack of funding. This lack of funding excavates all other challenges, like lack of infrastructure, educational materials, resources, what the teacher and the students need. There is no proper conducive environment for teaching and learning to effectively take place. So with this in mind, I think the government and the masses also, we need to prioritize education. We need to revive and change that narrative that education is not a priority. Education is definitely a priority. Not only education equips you with the necessary knowledge, it also shapes your lifestyle. It shapes your attitude. It shapes the way of thinking. It shapes your general life. And then with proper implementation of policies, educational policies that will go in line with what we need now. This is the 21st century. Now in 21st century, the type of system of education we had in the past is kind of no longer going to be effective now. The curriculum needs to be reviewed to what? Suit the educational needs of this 21st century.
Before we get into that, because I wanted to ask you about how we can change the curriculum to suit this current century that we're in. Your educational background, how has it shaped your perspective on education currently?
I guess my own stance on educational challenges we're facing now, especially in this part of the country, I think it has to do with the socioeconomic viewpoints of this part of the country, the socio-cultural viewpoints, the economic position of the country as well. As I mentioned earlier, during the missionary, when the missionaries brought education as what we had from history to the country, this northern part of the country had already its own system of education. It has its Islamic education. It had its own way of governance. Everything was there before the missionaries came. So I think that mind, that cultural mind that we have here in the North, that education is kind of abomination. You know, some families up to now, they have the ideology that education is an abomination.
Western education
In particular, it's an abomination. So I think When we change that perspective of our northern communities, when we change that perspective of education, see education as a good in general, it's not only a means of business, it's not only means of getting money, it's not only means of acquiring job, it's not only means of getting livelihood. When we sustain that, we abolish that perspective and narrative of the past, try to accommodate the changes that we are facing, and the world is bringing about change, and change is constant. Change needs to be affected, and then this challenges facing the northern part of the country's education system needs to be erected.
Okay. You mentioned that we have a shortage of qualified teachers, and how all of these problems are usually just a lack of funding, and proper funding will fix all those. How about for the society we're in? Like, we're in the northern society, some people are nomads, they don't stay in one place, and some people live with disabilities and economically disadvantaged. How can we make education more inclusive for these people?
I think this concept of inclusive education has already been put in place by the 2017 National Policy on Inclusive Education, which I think it adopted the UNESCO definition of inclusive education, which is a process whereby you accommodate all barriers and give out quality education to all learners, irrespective of their needs. So this marginalized section of people, like, for example, girls, especially here in the North, girl child education is lacking behind. There are cultural and gender rules, gender disparities that are in place, especially here in the North. So this document, I think it's also kind of reach out to vulnerable and marginalized groups, such as this girls' education, children with disabilities, like, for example, visual impairment, hearing impairment, speech impairment, even health impairment also. And the nomads, you talk about the nomads. These people, they do not live in one place. They wander. They are not residential certain. So with technological advancements, we always talk about changes. Now we're in the technology era. We can accommodate these learners, these set of learners, the nomads. We can improve, we can imbibe the concept of mobile teaching where you put in place, you give some teachers a concept of inclusion, kind of the way they will go ahead with this set of people that do not live in one place. When they're stationed there, they go there, or maybe using technological equipment, you transfer that knowledge. It's not all times that we leave these people behind. I think in the North, for example, in Jigawa State, I think I saw that they have established over like almost 90 nomad schools that were under the state agency for nomads education. And they were sponsored also internationally. So when we have this kind of initiatives, this will go a very long way in boosting and taking care of all diverse set of needs of learners that exist in the country at large.
All right, thank you for that. We'll be back after a short break.
Join us as we go beyond the surface to the deeper truths.
Going back to the points you made before about we're in the 21st century now, and the curriculum needs to be reviewed as well as the teaching procedure. What are some of the ways you think we can also move with technology and advancements? Is it by removing certain courses and adding others, or is it in the manner of teaching?
It's generally, I think that it's general in all aspects. We need to review the curriculum technological wise. For example, if you look at the aspect of shortage of qualified teachers, how can you use technology to what? Revive that teaching passion of teachers. You can what? Employ numerous methods, one of which, the first, I think, the most prominent way of using this technology to revive this curriculum, using teachers' competences. When these teachers are what? Going to undergo serial sets of development, training and development programs. You need to revive teacher training and development programs in this aspect that will go in line with what the needs of the current society. Apart from that, you can also employ the use of technology in reviving the curriculum by asserting certain control measures, control and evaluation techniques. The government, the government needs to what? Put more effort in managing the resources it delivers to educational bodies. For example, when you constantly secure funding, and there is no management, there is no evaluation, there is no monitoring, you cannot achieve what you are supposed to achieve, because that way you will not know how the money is being spent, is being allocated to various sectors. This education sector is a body of system. When you say system, it's something that comprises of different parts. So the education system is a very, very wide system. It's a very, very wide aspect that needs constant monitoring and evaluation, proper management using technological ways that are in advent in this 21st century. You can use that. The government should procure personnel, trained professional personnel that will what? Go through that series of proper monitoring and management. And apart from that, you can also use technological advancements of this 21st century in reviving the curriculum of the curriculum, the education curriculum, by setting some standards in the learning environment. The teacher, apart from knowing what he's supposed to do, apart from knowing that the task ahead of him, apart from planning what he wants to achieve, the students also and the parents, there need to be inclusion from their part. Parents, like for example, can provide this technological equipments to their children, the kids, that will help them in achieving what they are planning to achieve in school. And apart from employing them with the necessary equipments, there need to be proper monitoring and tracking from the parts of the parents, especially. You cannot leave your child maybe to get free access to internet all 24 hours and then without you properly tracking what he really do with the tool, the devices, exactly. The parents need to install this is a technological era. When you dish out technological equipment, there are anti-technological devices that will counter or supervise what their usage as well. So I think a cooperation of this technological ways from the part of the teacher, the curriculum itself, and from the part of the students and the parents, incorporating all these, I think, will give a better enhancement in the educational curriculum that will support all the needs of the 21st century of the learners.
Do you think it's effective to teach people in their native languages? Like maybe instead, if we're teaching our students in Hausa, would it be better or is it counterproductive?
I think at younger ages, teaching with native language, mother tongue of a child, goes a long way in helping the child to understand what really they're meant to understand. For example, a child education begins at home. The parents, especially the mothers, once their child has reached a certain age, they started teaching them some words, like maybe father, mother, water, and the rest, for example, in all native languages. So when the teacher builds on that, the early childhood care teacher tries to build on that mother tongue or native language of the child and builds upon it, and then try to balance with the official language here in the Nigeria. We try to balance that, the native language of a child, and then the official language, where the method of instruction is being used. I think it will help the child to understand, assimilate the knowledge that the teacher wants to pass on to the children. I think this concept of native language, using native language to teach children, especially at younger ages, is very, very effective. It greatly influences their understanding.
All right, Mrs. Fatima, we've talked about the challenges facing education. Now I want us to focus on the solutions. What are some solutions or recommendations you have to tackle all these problems?
Well, so many things have to be put in place, and it's not a work of only one aspect. Each and every stakeholder in education needs to do the needful in bringing about the best from this crisis that we're facing in education system, especially here in the northern part of the country. The best thing, I think, to be done for this education challenges we're facing is to improve the welfare of the teachers. I think improving welfare of teachers will go a long way in addressing so many other challenges of lack of proper infrastructure, lack of adequate teaching and learning environment, conducive environment for teachers. When the government try to improve on the welfare of the teachers by increasing their remuneration, salaries, and the rest, incentives for per se, this will go a long way in changing so many of the challenges we are facing in the north. And then on the aspect of security, we need to strengthen the security of educational establishments before we can even have education to take place in the first place. Without security, when teachers' lives and students' lives are in danger, we can't talk about anything on education. There's no teaching and learning that can take place. So this aspect also needs to be improved. And from the part of the government needs to do more on funding, release funding, and then manage and then evaluate and monitor the funding that is being pumped into this educational sectors. I think, for example, the government of Kano State is doing well in that aspect. If you can see from the budget, the allocation given to education, I think it's going beyond the municipal requirement for at least 20%, 26% of the country's budget to be pumped into educational sector. So I think when you release the funds, you need to put a check measures on how they are being utilized. And then another aspect of shortage of qualified teachers, how you can, the solution to the shortage of qualified teachers, I think everything has to do with the teachers' welfare. If you could recall, in the past, teachers were highly respected individuals in the society. But nowadays, the story has changed. I think one of the reputable newspapers here in the country, Daily Trust, I think I could saw in a Facebook post that it will be very shocking to you to know that the manpower that we are losing in the teaching profession is going beyond the manpower that we are losing in the health care personnel to these foreign investors, foreign countries. Teachers are leaving the country, what we call the Jaffa syndrome now. So
we have more teachers leaving than even doctors.
Wow. Teachers, because those people, they know that these teachers are crucial to the development of any society. If you could maybe come across the South African anti-apartheid activist and freedom fighter Nelson Mandela. He used to say that education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world. So those people, they know that education is where you are definitely investing a lot on. If you fail to invest in your educational sector, each and every other sector will fail, definitely. That's what we're facing here in the country. So reviving the respect of teachers, reviving the old ideology of teachers are seen like maybe you can say even as a form of some students take their teachers to levels that you can to very higher levels. For example, the way I see my teachers, right from my teachers from primary school, secondary school, university, formal and informal teachers, from Islamic perspective, all if you can see how the level of
regard
we have for the teachers in our times. It's definitely not what is being put in place nowadays. Students don't respect teachers. Students see teachers as what? What you can even name them. They give names to teachers. You can imagine. So all those put in place, and I know you must come across this. Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, He ordered the angels to bow down to Prophet Adam. Afterward, He has taught them some things that they did not know. وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. Then Allah ordered these angels to bow down to Prophet Adam because of out of respect. He has taught them something they don't know. So out of respect, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala ordered the angels to bow down to Prophet Adam out of respect. So I think the major challenge of welfare, improving the issue of improving welfare of the teachers will go a long way in addressing all other issues put in place by necessary stakeholders in education.
Knowledge is truly the foundation of every great society. So, Malama Bilkisu, in our previous session, she mentioned how students don't like studying now. As an educator, if you're in a classroom now, how can you build that love for learning in your students so it's not something they have to do, but something they want to do?
Exactly. It's I think the challenge the major challenge that a teacher should put in place for himself. He needs to inculcate that love for learning for the students. When you look at the classroom now, the classroom situations are now being turned into something else. Due to this technological advancement, some students or some schools, they don't put measures to what the students do in the classroom. Some teachers, out of lack of competency, might be in the classroom, and then students will be doing one thing or the other. Maybe engaging in their cell phones due to this advent of the social media. Students maybe in the higher levels or even lower levels in secondary schools, you can still find some of these issues. So a teacher should challenge himself to what? Instill that ideology in a student's mind. How? A teacher by presenting himself well in the classroom, a teacher by knowing what he's supposed to do in the classroom. There's this concept of one of our erudite teachers, the former provost of Saudi Freeman College of Education, Professor Issa Zulfuri. He taught us this concept of content knowledge, pedagogic knowledge, and then pedagogic content knowledge. This content knowledge is the teacher to know the subject matter, what he is going to teach the students, for example, mathematics, biology, physics, chemistry, and so on. And then we have pedagogic knowledge. This is what? The method of teaching, the methodology, the method of instruction, how the teacher carries out his lessons. And then we have the pedagogic content knowledge when a teacher knows the subject matter and how to teach, impart that subject matter to the students. So by being a pedagogic content knowledgeable teacher, that will go a long way in instilling that love in the student's mind to what? Love what the teacher is doing, appreciate the teacher, give respect to the teacher, and then even want to do like the teacher or more than what the teacher is doing.
I understand. Thank you. Right. Before we get to the final question, what are your hopes and aspirations for the future of education in Nigeria, the North especially?
As you can see, the aforementioned challenges are bedeviling the grassroots of education, especially here in the North. We're experiencing series of challenges. So I hope that by giving out what you're supposed to give out as a teacher, as an educator, by doing what you're supposed to do, I think that will go a long way in changing and shaping minds of the youth that has now been diverted to many other things that we're facing here in the northern space, especially. I hope also to change the narrative of the local community that education is an abomination, maybe. Education is not a priority. I hope also to change that narrative of the local communities, especially here in the northern part of the country that do not see education as a priority. And I also hope to inculcate in students' mind that education and learning is the most important thing that will shape their lifestyle, will shape their mode of thinking, will shape their way of interacting with people, will shape the way they carry out other activities of their lives, for example, businesses and so on. If you could see the markets we have here in Kano State, for example, if you go to the Wano market, you will see that this market has the way operations of this market is being taken place is the same way these operations were being done like 20, 30 years back. So and you can see how this market is boosting, is gaining international recognition worldwide. I think it's one of the best markets we have in Africa. So one thing I want to put at the back, people to put at the back of their minds is that when education is there, it enhances numerous ways. If you go to Single Market or Sabagari, you will see that they have implement technological ways of operation. There are biometrics carrying out when you come, when you're going, goods, how many goods are taken. You know, the methods of operation. Not only education supports you with the necessary knowledge, but it also shapes your mind. It also shapes how you interact, how you think, how you carry out businesses and the rest. So with knowledge, you can see from Dangote, for example, how education supports his business, how he reached where he is now. Without education, I bet you is no way to reach that place. Others, for example, other businessmen in the country, for example, in the north here, that do not acquire education but are still excelling. They do not have this education, but what? They are taking their kids abroad, not even in the country, abroad, to what? Acquire this education, because they know that in one way or the other, that education of their children will increase, will help in boosting what they are actually getting in their businesses. So with education, I hope to change the mindset of the locals, the communities, the internationals also on the perspectives of education, especially in the north here in the country.
MashaAllah, may Allah bless you and grant you the ability to do all of that. Our teachers are very important aspects of our society, and knowledge is a foundation of our religion, essentially. Our religion respects teachers, and what you do is an act of service. So I would like to know from you in a short sentence, what does service mean to you?
I think to me, service is giving out what you hope will change and shape numerous lives. Not only your own life, but numerous lives of others. How others will also affect, influence others, others influencing others, others influencing others.
Creating a ripple effect in a sense, yes. So, MashaAllah, may Allah bless it for you. Thank you so much for coming, Mrs. Fatima.
Thank you very much. It's wonderful to have
the
opportunity to be here, and I hope that we all get to know our destinations safely, and then reach our target goals in this dunya, and may Allah help us to achieve the main purpose of us being here in the world.
Ameen. Well, thank you so much for watching. We're at the end of a session. I hope you've gained a lot. See you in the next episode.